Welcome back to Giants Mania. Today we'll be going over 5 draft prospects the Giants can take at number 11 possibly. So this is not including the obvious names I expect to go early like Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell, Kyle Pitts. Those guys I expect to be gone before we pick, unfortunately. So I have some other names on here, 5 of them. I might do another video similar to this in the coming days. So if you guys like this format, let me know in the comments and I'll do a future video just like this one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and let's get into it. So first we have offensive lineman Rashaan Slater out of Northwestern. This is in no particular order, by the way. I'm just throwing names out there, but Slater is intriguing because of the versatility, and before I even get into that, I mean, to some people, Rashaan Slater is their favorite offensive line prospect in this class, which, I don't think it's a bad thing to say. It's not stupid. It's, I do prefer Penei Sewell. I do like him a bit more, but Rashaan Slater is very good, so I understand where people are coming from with that one. He's my second favorite, probably. There's some other guys I like right after him, like Tevin Jenkins and Dylan Radins, but, I feel like Rashaan Slater is definitely the first or second best offensive line prospect in this class, but he played really well at right tackle his first 2 years, I believe. Maybe it was his first year. He played right tackle at one point, then switched to left tackle, I believe, as a junior. I wrote it down here somewhere. Yeah, he played 2 years at right tackle, left tackle as a junior. He did very well at both spots, and he has the versatility to play just about anywhere on the offensive line, which is another intriguing thing about him. So if you need to put him at guard, you can do that with him. Some sites list him at 6'3", some 6'4". His arms at his pro day were 33 inches, which is honestly not that bad. You'd wish it was in that 34, 35 area or more, but, it's still not that bad. So you could put him at guard if you wanted to, but he basically has proven by now that he can play very well at the tackle position. So he's played against some NFL talent. I wrote down here he played against Zach Bond. Of course, we know about the Chase Young game. He did well against him and AJ Epinesa, and I'm sure some other NFL talent type edge rushers. So Rashaan Slater is definitely not a bad pick. I'd be very happy with that. It just depends if he makes it there. There probably are teams that can use some offensive line help before the Giants. So, it would not surprise me if he was gone, but if the Giants took Slater, I'd be okay with it. So the good things about him, he has great feel for the game. He handled the stunts very well, handled blitzes very well. He's consistent with his technique. He has very good feet. I mean, look at I didn't write it down, but his pro day numbers were crazy. This is according to the PFF draft guide. Basically they go by percentile. He did every single pro day event except for the shuttle run. So he did the bench press, 3-cone, 40-yard dash, 10-yard split, vertical leap, and then the broad jump. So he is basically over the 83rd percentile in all of those. So this guy is a tremendous athlete. PFF lists him at 6'4", 304, which is not that bad. I mean, once again, 304, tiny bit undersized, I guess, for an offensive tackle, but still, he's already proven he can play at the college level. So basically, he's versatile. I talked about that before. He played well against NFL talent. So the bad parts about him, his lower half wasn't as dominant as you want it to be, especially for a guy that's a bit, I don't want to call him short, but just he's not a guy who's 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". You would hope that his lower half was a bit stronger, but it's not something to worry about too much. His arm length, 33 inches. It's not the best, but it's also not bad. And we didn't get to see him play in 2020, unfortunately. So a lot of guys, he's not the only one, but a lot of guys backed out this past year. But he basically has 3 really good years on tape at Northwestern. So I feel like Rashaan Slater, he probably will be somewhere in the top 15 of this draft. I don't expect him to fall, but if he falls to 11, then the Giants would probably benefit from taking him. And, of course, the Giants can use some offensive line help. And I'm sure people will talk about, well, we don't want to bench Matt Parrott or move him inside. I don't think Matt Parrott has the type of build to put him at guard. If you have to put Rashaan Slater at guard, then fine. I'm not a big fan of that, but, it's better than not having him. So if the Giants have to do that, then fine. If they have to bench Matt Parrott and put Rashaan Slater at right tackle, that's fine, because I do believe that Slater is a better prospect than Matt Parrott. And I was a big Matt Parrott fan, but still, Rashaan Slater is in a different level than Matt Parrott. So I will say, if they draft him and they have to bench Parrott, then okay, I've said it before, better to have offensive line depth than not have it. We saw what happened to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So yeah, I'm okay with that. I know they brought Nate Solder back, but I'm fine with Rashaan Slater. It just depends if he falls to 11. Next, we have wide receiver Davonte Smith out of Alabama, and it seemed like after the college playoffs, a lot of people had him going in the top 5 of their mock drafts. I saw a lot of him going to Miami at number 3. Miami, of course, traded back to number 12 and up to number 6, so they're at 6 now. And you don't really see Devonta Smith going that early in many mocks anymore. Some people have Devonta Smith as their wide receiver 1 in this class, which, it's fine. I think there's there's so much wide receiver talent in this class. You really can't go wrong saying it one way or the other. I mean, my personal preference is Jamar Chase, then Jalen Waddle, then Devonta Smith, which doesn't mean I'm low on Smith, but I just have more concerns about him than the other guys. And yeah, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's the elephant in the room basically is his weight. I mean, he's 170 pounds at 6'1". I tried to go back and look at some other guys that I thought would have smaller frames, so Will Fuller, who just got signed by Miami, actually 6 feet tall, 172 pounds. That's about as close as you get right there. But even, Will Fuller has not been the epitome of health in his NFL career so far. A lot of it's soft tissue injuries, but still, he's not been too healthy. Desean Jackson, old friend of the Giants, 5'10", 175, so he's a bit smaller height-wise. Travis Benjamin's 5'10", 170, a couple inches shorter. Ted Ginn was 5'11", 180, so, just a bit shorter, a bit heavier. And then Robbie Anderson. If you've watched a Jets or a Panthers game recently, Robbie Anderson looks like the skinniest guy on a football field, but somehow he weighs 190 pounds at 6'3". So I know he has a couple more inches on Davonte Smith height-wise, but still, I mean, to weigh 20 pounds more is a lot. So there's a lot of things to like about Davonte Smith, though. I'm not saying he's bad. I would never say that about a guy like him, but the concern is, does he have the durability to last over an NFL career where he can stay healthy? And, there's so many good things about him. His stats last year were insane. You look back at his numbers last year, he had 23 touchdowns in 13 games, 117 receptions, 1,856 yards. He had an insane season. I know he's on Alabama. I know Mac Jones was putting the ball where it needed to be for them last year. But still, Jalen Waddle goes out. He had to step up more and get more targets, and he did that. So he answered every bell for Alabama last year. But so the good things about Davonte Smith, he plays bigger than he is. I mean, for a guy like him, he's very good on contested catches. Kind of like A.J. Green. No, A.J. Green's definitely a lot bigger and definitely weighs more. But A.J. Green, a very skinny build. He was awesome on contested catches back in his day. So, A.J. Green definitely is somewhat of a comparison. Yeah, I know that the height and weight's not exactly the same, but he high points the football about as well as anybody in this class. I mean, I think Jamar Chase is very good at that as well. Same with the body control. I think both guys have awesome body control. Of course, with a guy like Chase who just has a bigger frame. I think Chase is only 6'1", 205, so he's not that much bigger, but still has 30 pounds on him basically. So, they're both very good at high pointing the ball and winning contested catches. He has plenty of experience at every spot basically. He played a lot of X receiver. He played in the slot a lot this past year as well. So production's been incredible for 2 straight years now. He's very smooth. He gets off the line easily. I mean, the concern with a guy who weighs that little or just doesn't weigh that much is that he can't get off the line against press. That really has not been a problem for a guy like Davonte Smith. Very good body control. And he's not the most explosive athlete in the world, but he has long strides. His top end speed's very good. Once he hits that top gear, he goes pretty fast. So, I mean, his explosiveness is not the best, but once he gets going, he's actually pretty damn fast. So the problem is he only weighs 170 pounds. Lots of production came off screen passes. I think him and probably Rondale Moore, when I went back and watched them, probably had their most production on screen passes. I know that for Moore's case, they didn't have the biggest route tree for Purdue, so I mean that's not really his fault. But yeah, for Davonte Smith, you have to factor in the screens there, and he doesn't really have the body type to put on much more weight. I know some people might think to themselves, well, just get him in the NFL, get him with the trainers, and he'll put on more weight in the NFL weight room. I don't know about that because Alabama, you have to think their weight program and their training program is probably as close to the NFL as it gets, maybe better than some NFL teams, and they couldn't even put weight on Davonte Smith. So maybe his body's just like this. Maybe he's like Kevin Durant, who's probably looked the same since he's been with the Supersonics back in 2007. So, I don't know if Davonte Smith can put on much more weight. If you get an extra 5 to 10 pounds on him, that's probably a massive victory because I don't know how much more you can expect a guy like him to put on. But he has shown that despite having this type of frame, he can dominate against some of the best. So, I mean, I'm not really too concerned about it, but, he might be a bad hit away from possibly getting injured. I guess you can say that about anybody, but, it's just when you look at a guy like this, you look at, the NFL's history, not many guys with that body type of wide receiver have ever been massively successful. So, can he be an outlier? Of course he can. So, I mean, that's the thing. You're basically betting on an outlier to happen here. So, I'm not saying Davonte Smith can't do it, but we really haven't seen it yet. So, you're kind of betting on him to start a new trend of 170-pound receivers becoming a normal thing for the NFL. So, It's hard to bet on when you're making a high pick in the first round, but the production's there. He played for a great program, and hopefully for whatever team he goes to sake, he puts on some more weight. But if he doesn't, then I'm sure he'll be fine at 170. Once again, he has the route running, he has the contested catch ability, the high point, the football. He's very good at all that stuff. He should be fine. Just stay healthy, and I think he'll have a pretty good NFL career. Next up, we have teammate of Davonte Smith, well, former teammate now, Jalen Waddle from Alabama. So I look at him as more of like a legit 4.3s type of guy, 4.3 40 type of guy. I don't think he's going to run one because of the injury, but he's very fast. Like when you watch him, it's just that's the first thing that sticks out to you is how fast this guy is. Now, unfortunately, due to the school he's went to and how great they are and how much great wide receiver talent they've produced, he's had to sit behind guys like Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devonta Smith in recent years. But when he was out there, he was really good. Like he never put up a great season. He was asked to start this year, played the first 4 games, was healthy, got injured in his 5th game with a broken ankle. I think it was like an opening kickoff or something, so got injured early in that one. But through the first 4 games, he had over 120 receiving yards in each game. You go back and look at his game log, go back and watch some of his games from this past year, you'll know that if he played the full season, he would have dominated. I mean, he would have taken away from Davonte Smith. I don't think Smith would have had the 1,800 yards he had, but Jalen Waddle, if he played a full season, probably would have been somewhere around that area of like 1,400 yards, probably could have got over 10 touchdowns. He would have been great if he stayed healthy, but unfortunately, we couldn't see a healthy 2020. So he's 5'10", 182. It's not the size you want, but still, I mean, we've seen guys at this size before have really good NFL careers, and it's not like he's 6'1", 182. He's 5'10", so he does have that over Davonte Smith. There's not much of a size concern when it comes to Jalen Waddle, but definitely has some special talent to him. He can win contested catches downfield. He's had some very crazy catches on tape where you're just like, how the hell did he come up with that ball? There's one I love over the, somewhere it's like a post route, and he came back to it, made the catch, brought it into his chest. It was an awesome play. Had another one on the right side of the sideline. Like, he's had some really nice contested catches for a guy his size. His elusiveness, his burst, and the way he gets downfield is probably the best thing about him. Definitely one of the most elusive players in this class, and there are some very elusive wide receivers. The Moore brothers, you can call them, Elijah Moore and Rondell Moore, also very elusive, but Jalen Waddle is definitely up there as well. Gets downfield quickly. And another thing I love about Jalen Waddle is, like, if you get him a creative play caller, like kind of like the way that the Panthers used Curtis Samuel last year, you can use him behind the line of scrimmage, screen passes, even as a running back if you wanted to, like, use him very creatively. Just give him a little swing pass and he'll make guys miss. Like, he will be a quarterback's best friend. Quarterback can make a simple throw. Waddle makes guys miss, picks up an extra 5 to 10 yards that he probably shouldn't have picked up. So really, it just comes down to health. And I do think if he's able to stay healthy out there, I know he's coming off the broken ankle. He played under 1,000 college snaps, which is not what you want to see. Not the most experienced guy. He should have played a lot more this year, as we know, until he was injured. And then the 5'10", 182 frame, I mean, there is some limitations to what you can do with that type of frame. He probably won't be a primarily outside receiver, probably more of a slot guy, not an X receiver. But, I mean, as I've said in previous videos, every team needs a good slot receiver, basically. And if you're a team that doesn't have one, like the Giants, because they want to play Sterling Shepard outside most times, Jalen Waddle would be a great fit for the Giants. I would argue that Jalen Waddle is a better fit for the Giants than Davonte Smith is, because Davonte Smith would kind of want to do the same things that Kenny Galladay is going to do. So if you have Kenny Galladay, then, there's not really... I mean, I could see a world where they coexist, but I just think from a fit for the Giants standpoint, Jalen Waddle probably makes more sense. So what did I miss? So I don't think corners can really press him. I mean, we've seen it before in college. They had a hard time doing that. He's very shifty. He knows how to get out of his breaks very easily as well. So I think Jalen Waddle, if he can stay healthy, I know I said the same thing for Smith, but if he can stay healthy, I love Jalen Waddle's upside. Everyone makes the Tyreek Hill comparison. You hear it all the time, but I guess he's probably one of the closest things we've seen to Tyreek Hill. So, I mean, I hate to just kind of go with the thing everybody else says on that one, but yeah, I just feel like it's hard to call someone the next Tyreek Hill, but if anyone can do it in this class, it's probably him. I do love Elijah Moore too, so maybe him, but Jalen Waddle should be a good one, assuming his ankle is healthy, and hopefully he has a clean slate of health in his rookie year. Up next, we have linebacker Micah Parsons from Penn State, and Parsons did not play in this past year in 2020, but he did enough in 2019 to make you realize this guy's a first-round talent. And if I had to guess, I'd probably say he goes in the top 10. I don't know if he'll last number 11, but there's a chance. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen in the NFL draft. So he's at 6'3", 245, and apparently ran a 4.39 40 at his pro day, which is just, it's stupid. Like, he is built like an edge rusher and running in the 4.3s. So once again, I don't know how accurate these pro day numbers are, but if that's close to accurate, even if it was a low 4.4s type number, that's insane if you're doing that. So Micah Parsons is a different breed. You can tell when you were watching him on film, like, he's just different from everybody else. That guy had an NFL ready type body from a long time ago, from 2 or 3 years out. So his pro day numbers, they weren't the best. It was 19 bench reps, a 3-cone of 6.94, which is good. 40-yard dash, I just went over. His 10-yard split was 1.59. That's pretty good. His shuttle run was only 4.4, so that's not that great. Then you have his vertical leap of 34 inches. That's not great, but his broad jump was 126 inches, which is very good. And his hands are 11 inches, which is massive. But his arms are 31 and a half inches, which is like, it's a weird combination of like not the longest arms, but his hands are massive. 6'3", 245, 246, whatever you want to call him. But yeah, his build is unbelievable. And the thing I love most about him is like how easily he takes on blocks. Like when you see an offensive lineman, a guard, a tackle, doesn't matter, a center, try to engage with him in like the run game, he will throw you to the side like it's nothing. Like he was treating these guys like they were a bunch of middle schoolers out there. He was throwing them to the side, and it was like nothing, honestly. So he was awesome on the run, against the run. He was great at that. I think he will be great against the run in the NFL as well. He rarely missed tackles, had a 5.4% missed tackle rate in 2019. You love to see that. When he's going downhill, he's great. He will, as I said, will take on any block. He will knock offensive linemen over. He will do anything to get to the ball carrier. Nothing will stop him. He's great at that stuff. So, the way he moves, he looks like he's 220, honestly. Like the way he's moving out there does not look like a guy that is 245 pounds. He looks like he's 220, 215. He moves like a wide receiver. So it's very special, honestly. So the downside, of course, is like kind of how Penn State used him, which is not a fault of his own. I'm sure he can be good in coverage, but he's only had 4 career pass deflections. That's not the highest number for a linebacker. Didn't play much man coverage. And the biggest thing, of course, and I feel like most teams have kind of done their background checks on him, and I've done a video about this in the past on my other channel, but he was involved in this bullying/hazing story for Penn State where one guy had to transfer because I think it was Parsons, it was Yetur Gross-Matos, who's now on the Panthers, and some other guy were apparently bullying this guy, and not really much evidence has come out about that. It's kind of like what he said type of thing, but yeah, I don't know. I think teams have done their background checks, and I feel like, it hasn't really come up nothing negative has came up recently about it, so I feel like that's kind of under the bridge now, so we'll find out. But he did not play in 2020, another downside, but 2018 he was good, 2019 he was excellent, so I think just based on those 2 years alone, he should be fine. And some Giants fans say, well, we have Reggie Ragland, we have Tay Crowder, we have Blake Martinez, we don't need him. Don't say that. You could definitely use a Micah Parsons, especially when you're playing in a 3-4 where you could use 2 inside linebackers. And the Giants, let's say in the off chance that, once again, Lorenzo Carter gets hurt, once again, O'Shane Ximines gets hurt. I mentioned before, this guy can be a pass rusher if you need him to be. He can go to edge if you need him to be. So he would be a nice, versatile player. He would make their run defense so much better. I know the Giants' run defense was already pretty good. It wasn't great last year. It was better the year before, honestly, but last year they had their ups and downs, but he would make their run defense so good. So having him next to Blake Martinez, he's more athletic than Martinez is. I feel like he'll be better against the pass than Martinez is. I just don't think you should not have Tay Crowder and Reggie Ragland be the reason for why you don't draft Micah Parsons. Same thing with Matt Parrott. You should not have Matt Parrott be the reason why you don't draft Rashaan Slater. So that's my opinion about it. I would definitely love that Micah Parsons. Yes, inside linebacker is not the highest on the positional value board or chart, whatever you want to call it, but Micah Parsons is a difference maker. I want to see what he can do against the pass and in coverage. That's the biggest thing, but if he can be as good as I think he can be, then he should be fine. I mean, when you have an all-around linebacker that can do everything, those guys are very valuable. So I'd be fine taking Micah Parsons. It all depends if he passes his background checks with the Giants, and of course, if he falls to number 11. And lastly today, we have Azeez Ojulari, an edge player from Georgia. So I've seen his name kind of around Giants Twitter the last couple of days, and some people hate the idea, some people are okay with it. I do like Azeez Ojulari. I'm definitely a fan of his. I think he's my second favorite edge rusher. I like Jalen Phillips a bit more. I like Kwity Paye. I mean, I love his tools, of course. He's probably my third favorite. Some people like Rousseau, some people like Owe. Not really a big fan of those guys. Who's the other one? There's some other guy out there I'm forgetting now. But yeah, there's another guy on the edge I'm forgetting. But this is kind of a weird class where there's a lot of guys put in that same group, and I'm going to be, intrigued to see which edge guy goes first in this class. So we'll find out in the next couple weeks. But basically, he's coming off a season with 9.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 12.5 tackles for loss. But this was like really a breakout year for him. He wasn't really anything special the years prior. He's definitely improved every year, which is what you want to see. So yeah, he's definitely going to be a good pass rusher. I could see that happening. I think he'll be okay against the run. And the Giants were trying to make a run at Leonard Floyd in this past free agency. So they wanted Leonard Floyd. He went back to the Rams, of course. But, I know Leonard Floyd is like 6'6" or 6'5", not exactly 6'2" like Azeez Ojulari, but they're kind of similar players, honestly. So the Giants want to make improvements with their, with their edge defenders, and I can see Azeez Ojulari definitely coming in and being a day one starter for this team. I feel like he's more NFL ready. Him and Jalen Phillips are more NFL ready than the other guys in this edge class. So I think he'll hit the ground running as a pass rusher. We'll find out if he can handle some of the powerful offensive linemen, because that's the one problem I have with Azeez Ojulari is that he's not the most powerful guy. We'll go over the pros and cons in a little bit, but that's the one thing. I think he's very good at just getting around that corner, getting low, and just having enough bend. He's good at that. He can get to the edge, and I think it'd be a good combination because the Giants have a lot of strong guys on the interior. If you have Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence and B.J. Hill, whoever, Austin Johnson, Danny Shelton, pushing that line back, and then you have a guy from the edge coming around and kind of suffocating a quarterback, that's where Azeez Ojulari is going to come in very handy because he knows how to get to the edge. He will just kind of make it tough for a quarterback to get out of a sticky situation. So I think just from a scheme standpoint, from how he would fit with the current guys on the roster, I think Azeez Ojulari makes sense. But if I were the Giants, I don't know if I would take him at number 11, but if I were them, I would try to trade back a few picks, trade back a few spots, 3 to 5 spots, and try to get another second-round pick or another third-round pick in return and just gain extra draft capital. So I think that would make the most sense. But here's the good things about him. A lot of bend on the edge. I just said that. Get around tackles very easily. His hand usage is good. He doesn't have the strongest hand, but he's very good at fighting guys' hands away. Very good at that. The explosiveness and pass rushing moves are already basically pro-ready in my opinion. I think he's very good with that. So the flaws are he's not the most powerful guy. Definitely the biggest flaw. He can shed blocks against NFL linemen. That's another big thing. I don't know if he can disengage against some of these powerful offensive linemen. He's not a guy you want playing inside the tackles. Definitely more of an edge guy. You want him playing outside the tackles. So that's kind of limits him on what he can do. And he was only dominant for one season, basically, this past year. So it's not like he has a long track record of being great. I mean, it's kind of this case with a lot of guys in this class because some guys sat out this past year. Some guys just came out of nowhere and had a good 2020. And Azeez Ojulari is one of those guys. But I think I would like him at number, if the Giants traded back to, let's say, 15, 16, 17, and they took him and then got an extra second or third round pick, I would say that's a successful first round. I think Azeez Ojulari would be good in this defense. Patrick Graham should use him just fine. And I said it before. You get these defensive linemen to push the pile back. You now have a guy coming around the outside. And I think that would just make a quarterback's life hell. So I do want to see that for the Giants defense. I think they can definitely use an edge rusher. It's hard to find edge rushers in the later rounds because a lot of edge rushers and how good they are depends on athleticism. And it's hard to find good athletes later in the draft. There's a reason that the guys that have the great pro days and the great combines go early in the draft, especially for outside linebackers. So if you want one, sometimes you have to take one early in the first round, and Azeez Ojulari is probably one of the better guys on the board. So we'll find out. But that'll do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave in the comments what you think about these prospects. Out of these 5, which guy would you want to see the Giants take? Of course, not all of them will be available, but we'll find out on draft night what happens exactly. But I don't know how I'd rank these guys. I think I'd be fine with any of them. There's probably a reason I made this video first and put these guys first because I kind of would be fine with any of these guys. I have my concerns about Davonte Smith. I mean, Azeez Ojulari is not as much of a sure thing as Micah Parsons or, even a Jalen Waddle to me or even Rashaan Slater. So, yeah, there's definitely some risk with some other guys, but definitely they all have a lot of upside, so I do like that. But, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Once again, leave in the comments. Do you want me to do another video like this? I'll pick another 5 guys out. I can do Elijah Vera Tucker. I can do Jason Owe, guys like that. So leave some names in the comments and I'll add them to my next list. But hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you next time.